The Bible Story in 16 Seas. Isaac grew up, got married, and had two sons called Jacob and Esau. Jacob grew up, got married, and had 12 sons. One of Jacob's sons was called Joseph. God made a way for him to become the second most important man in Egypt, under the Pharaoh, so that he could rescue the people of Egypt during a famine. He was also able to offer rescue to other people from all over the world, including his father Jacob and his 11 brothers. Because of the famine, Jacob and his family settled down to live in Egypt. Over time, they had more and more children and grew to be a great people who were known as the Israelites. Jacob and Joseph died, and after a while, a new Pharaoh came into power, who did not remember Joseph or what he had done to save Egypt. This new king thought there were too many Israelites. He thought they would rise up and attack Egypt. So Pharaoh turned the Israelites into slaves. He put slave drivers over them and made them carry heavy loads, work in the fields, make bricks, and build cities. But God blessed his people in the middle of all this trouble, and their families continued to grow. When Pharaoh saw this, he was unhappy, and so he decided to do something that was very wicked. Pharaoh commanded that every Israelite baby boy should be thrown into the river Nile. Only the daughters were to be spared. There was one Israelite woman who had a baby boy. She was afraid that he would be killed, and so she hid him. When she couldn't hide him any longer, she made a basket out of reeds, put her son in the basket, and hid it among the reeds of the riverbank. She told her daughter to watch him. That morning, Pharaoh's daughter came to the river and found the baby in the basket. The baby's sister came out from where she was hiding and offered to find someone to look after the baby. Pharaoh's daughter agreed and sent the baby back to his mother to care for him until he was older. Later, when the boy came to live with her, she named him Moses and raised him in Pharaoh's courts. God saved Moses because he was part of God's plan to help his suffering people. As Moses grew up to be a man, the slavery of God's people in Egypt continued. Their lives were very hard, and Moses could see how much they suffered. One day, Moses even killed a cruel Egyptian who was beating one of the Israelites. They were his people, and he wanted to help them. But when Pharaoh found out what Moses had done, he planned to kill Moses. So Moses ran away from Egypt into the wilderness and became a shepherd. But God wasn't finished with Moses. He spoke to Moses in the wilderness and said, "I have seen the suffering of my people, and I have heard their cries for help. I am going to deliver them, and I am going to send you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt." Moses was afraid. He knew the people back in Egypt would not easily believe that he was God's deliverer. "What if they don't believe me or listen to me?" he said. But God promised to go with him and sent his brother Aaron to help him speak to Pharaoh. When it was time to deliver God's message, Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and told him that God said he needed to let the Israelites go. But Pharaoh said, no. In fact, he told his taskmasters to make it harder for the Israelites to do their work and to beat them if they complained. God sent Moses back to Pharaoh to tell him again to let the Israelites go. God warned Moses that Pharaoh would not listen. But God would then show his power and rescue Israel. And it happened just like God said. Moses told Pharaoh to let God's people go, but Pharaoh said no. He did not want to obey, and so he hardened his heart. It may seem like things were not going well for Moses, but we can't forget that God's plan can never be stopped. Even when things don't seem to go right, God is in control behind the scenes, working out his purposes. Even when the bad guys seem to be winning, God's plan to rescue was working perfectly. The Bible Story in 16 C's.